But it doesn't stop here. What happens when, for whatever reason, you want to merge two rows or two cells together? Is that possible? Well, it is possible, and it's not frowned upon or anything, but it is a little bit tricky to wrap your head around. So we have a header in here, and we don't want to change anything in there, but let's say we want to merge row 1, cell 1, and cell 2. We can give this an attribute called colspan, so it's going to span two columns of 2. And we're simply going to remove one of the cells. So this is going to act as if there are two cells in here. Despite there only being one, we're telling HTML to act as if there are two. So let's save and refresh. And you can see that it's actually taken up this section in here. So let's do the same thing with row 2, cell 3, and 4. So let's go down to row 2, cell 3, and 4. Let's add a colspan of 2. We don't need cell number 4 because this counts as 2. So let's save that, and there we go. These are starting to merge together. Now let's take a quick look at what happens in row 3 when we get rid of cell number 3 and 4 entirely. We didn't give them a colspan or anything, we just got rid of them. So everything else, for all intents and purposes, there are four columns here, 4 columns here. There are 4 columns here, but there are only 2 columns in here, 2 cells in here. It starts to look a little bit empty, doesn't it? It works, but it's not proper. Now, what happens if we want to merge 2 rows together? Let's say we wanted to merge row 3 cell 1 and row 4 cell 1. So these 2 cell 1 should be together. Let's go ahead and do that now. We have row 3 cell 1, and we simply say row span is equal to 2. And this has nothing to do with our columns. So we're going to leave these columns at 4. But because it takes up the next one down here, we are simply going to get rid of this cell. And just like that, we have row 3 cell 1 takes up 2 rows, and then it goes into cell 2, cell 3, cell 4. We could even do something like this. Row span is 2. Let's do a colspan of 2 as well. Let's get rid of this one because it's now spanning 2 columns, and we can get rid of this one because it's also spanning 2 columns into the row underneath it. Let's save and refresh, and there we go. We're starting to actually scoop out entire sections of our table. Now at this point you might be thinking, well, what use is this? But when we are looking at comparative charts, so maybe we want to, let's do a simple example here. Maybe we have a chart of colors, and so we have our Roy G. Biv. We've got our red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, and violet. And between each of those colors are additional cells. So we want to see sort of what is in there. And so let's go ahead and create a new table, just a real simple one here. And we're going to do this. Table, we're not even going to do this all entirely properly. I'm going to cheat here. So we have a table row with our table header. We're going to call it a color. Color doesn't really matter how you spell it. And maybe the hex value, something like that. Maybe the RGBA value or just the RGB value, something like that. And then we have another row in here, not a trans, we have another row in here. And our first one needs to be a color. So let's say blue. And then our second one needs to match this value, the hex value. So I don't really know what that is, so I'm gonna just type hashtag unknown. And then our third one needs to be the RGB value, and I don't really know what that is, so I'm just gonna put in black. So don't confuse these as real, I just made those up. Okay, so now we're looking at a table, and we need to add border of 1 so we can see where we're working, width of 100% so that it looks a little nicer. We've got a color, hex value, and RGB value. Now let's say we want to add sub-colors in here. So let's go ahead and add a color. We've got sub-color. So instead of just blue, maybe we have navy blue, royal blue, things like that, baby blue. So now we need to add another column in here. Let's call this one baby blue. Now that's nice, but if we wanted to duplicate this for navy blue, this would be pretty painful. We're gonna have to go up here, change this to navy blue, and we're going to be duplicating this column over and over and over and over and over again. So it's gonna say color blue, 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 color red, 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 color orange, 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 orange. And that's not what we want. We just want one of these. So let's go ahead and add this in anyway. So navy blue, whatever that's going to be, I don't know, ocean blue, something like that. And so we can see that this is sort of becoming a little bit familiar, but we want to merge all of these together. All the blue ones should be together. So let's go ahead and give it a row span. We've got a row span of 3, and let's get rid of this blue. That's not necessary anymore. Let's get rid of this blue. There we go. And just to make this a little interesting, let's add a BG color of blue. I believe that is also deprecated in favor of CSS, but this should work for the foreseeable future. We have blue in here. We've got baby blue, navy blue, ocean blue. These values could be different. These RGB values could be different. And now we can copy all of these over. So I'm going to grab all these blue rows, make a bunch of space for us to work. And let's call this one red. And this one all the way across there is going to be red. And I did something wrong. I think I pasted too many times in there. Yeah, I definitely did. Now I could go and fix that up for you, but I don't want to waste your time on tables any longer. But the idea is that you can have entire rows dedicated to just one topic. So if you want to get into categorization, this is a great way to do that. Okay, so there, I fixed it up. And now for your task. And again, I want to remind you before you jump into this task that should this feel difficult to you, should this feel hard for you or overwhelming at any point, just take a break and come back to it. No one says that you have to do all of this in this particular moment. So your task is going to be, 1, create a new .html file. 2, create a table. 3, create a header. So you want to add a t-head. 4, create a t-foot. 5, create a t-body. And in here, we've got 5.1. Create 4 cells with 4 columns, like what I originally did, a 4x4 grid. Your t-foot and your t-head could just be regular names. It doesn't really matter what's in there. They're just going to be bolded and centered so that you really know what you're looking at. And it just makes for a better viewing experience, really. Merge at least 2 cells together. And then I want you to merge at least 2 rows together. And lastly, I want you to merge at least 2 rows and 2 cells at the same time together. So this is your task. Create a new HTML file, create a table with a head, footer, and body. Then I want you to create 4 cells with 4 columns, or actually that's actually wrong. Create 4 rows with 4 columns. So you're going to have 16 cells in total, 16 cells in total. Merge at least 2 cells together in the same row, Merge at least 2 rows together. Merge at least 2 cells together from different rows. And then merge 2 rows and 2 cells together. So merge 4 cells together so they're all grouped together. Other than that, feel free to rewatch this video or ask questions in the Learning to Code Facebook group. There are thousands of us who are willing to help you at any time during your learning development or your learning journey. After this, we are basically done HTML basics, and then we are going to learn some of the more advanced HTML stuff, and this is where it actually gets a little bit more fun. It's a little more challenging, but it produces a lot better websites, because right now we really needed to know the fundamentals, and honestly, sometimes learning fundamentals is not very fun or interesting, but in the next section, and when we start learning about more complicated things, we are going to be starting to create an actual website. And then at the end, we will create an actual web page. Good luck on your task. Other than that, when you are finished, let's head on over to that next lesson together.